Welcome to this month's video focus, Numbers Exploring Functions. Here we'll explore some common aggregate functions like sum, average, and minimum. Then we'll look at more complex functions that require the user to enter more than just one cell or range of cells, such as the payment and if functions. Let's begin with the sum function, which is probably the most used function. I'm selecting the cells that I want to total, and on my toolbar there is a Functions button, and I'll click on Sum. Now that automatically places the sum below the column of figures I selected. If I had selected a row of figures, it would have placed the sum to the right of that row. For average price, I'll select my unit price, come back up to my Function button, and choose Average. Note where it places the average. It places it underneath the range of cells that I selected. However, I want that value to be placed over here. So get around that with the aggregate functions. They show up on the left-hand side here. So let's select these cells again. And notice that these are no longer grayed out. I'll click and drag the tile for min over to the min cell. Doing the same thing for max, selecting range of cells, choosing max, and dragging and dropping. The value that the count function returns is the number of cells within a range of cells selected that contain numeric data. So I've selected the cells I want to operate on, and I'll drag my count tile over to my cell. And it tells me that 15 cells contain numeric values, which is absolutely true. We have 5 there, another 5 here, and another 5 here. Now let's take a quick look at the anatomy of a function. Every function begins with an equal symbol, the name of the function, opening and closing brackets, and then arguments within those brackets. So for the sum function, we have equals, sum, opening bracket, the range of cells that we want to total, and then a closing bracket. Double-clicking on the sum function, or the cell that holds the sum function, you'll see that that is indeed the function shown here. I'm pressing escape to come out of there. Double-clicking on the cell that contains the average, we see equals average, E4 to E8. Notice that we have a color coding to indicate which cells are being operated on. Then we have min, max, and of course our count function. Let's take a look at a different style of function. Here we want to find out what the monthly payment is on a loan amount. Now in this case I'm looking at purchasing a car. So the purchase price of the car is $32,000. I have $5,000 I can put down, which leaves me $27,000 that I need to finance. I'm going to finance it over 3 years, which means I'll be making 36 payments if I make monthly payments. My interest rate is 10%. I want to find out what my monthly payment is going to be. So to do that, I've got my cell selected. I'm going to come into my function and click on Show Function Browser. Now the function browser shows you every function available to you, and there are over 250 functions available. And if you'd like to take a look at those, we have a list that's available on the Apple website. At the very top of the list, it shows a variety of categories: date and time, duration, engineering, financial, etc. We'll be looking at logical, numerical, and each one of these functions has a wee blurb to explain what the purpose of that function is. So if I come back up to the financial section and look up PMT, it tells you that it returns the fixed periodic payment for a loan or annuity based on a series of regular periodic cash flows, which means a payment of a constant amount and all cash flows at constant intervals, and a fixed interest rate. An easier way perhaps of explaining that is you have a fixed amount that you're borrowing, in this case, you have a fixed interest rate, you have a fixed series of payments that are being made based on the same period. So for us, that means a monthly payment. And we don't see it right here. We could scroll down until we get there, but that's a lot of scrolling in my opinion. So we can either type in payment up here, or if we knew the name of the function, we could type PMT. Now it happens to be selecting this PMT function automatically, or at least graying it out for me, because I've used it in the past. But these are all the functions that are available to you that are based on some type of payment. PMT is selected, so I'm just going to click Insert Function, and I'll close my browser, and then we'll take a look at the arguments now. So we know it's the PMT function. The periodic rate refers to the interest rate. The number of periods is the number of actual payments you're going to make. Present value or future value relates to either a loan payment or perhaps an investment security of some sort, and when you're going to be paying it at the beginning of the month or at some other time. So let's start with the periodic rate. I've selected that in the actual function, and now I'm clicking on the cell that represents that value. And it pops in cell reference B7. I click on number of periods now and then select the appropriate cell. In this case, I'm using present value because it's not something I'm putting into an account and then trying to gain interest on. I'm actually borrowing the money. So that's present value of the loan, which is the $27,000. I can ignore future value. I'm going to go over to when due, and there's a little drop down arrow there. And so I've got two options here. The end, which is just a zero or omitted, or the beginning. Now this is the beginning or end of the period you've selected. So in this case I'm going to choose beginning and then use my check mark. So it seems we have some kind of a problem here, because there's no way that over a period of 3 years I'm going to have to pay over $2,500 a month to pay off a $27,000 loan. So let's take a closer look at this function. Now B7 represents the interest rate, but note that the interest rate stipulated here is an annual interest rate. So we're going to have to divide that by the number of periods. So I'm just going to double click, come just to the right of the B7, use a forward slash and type 12 to represent 12 monthly periods, and then use my check mark. Now I'd rather not see that negative symbol. That negative symbol pops up because we're taking money out of our bank account, or out of our cash to pay our monthly payment. But if you'd rather just have it as a regular positive number, just come into the PMT function in your formula bar, type a negative symbol in front of PMT, that will automatically switch it to a positive number. The next topic on our list is the if function. The if function contains three parameters or arguments: the condition that you're testing for, what happens if the condition happens to be true, and what happens if the condition is false. For example, my condition in the next statement is I have debit or credit card. So if I have a credit or debit card, I can go and buy gas. Buying gas is the true action. The false action, where I don't have a debit or credit card, is to ask what happened to your wallet. Now I use this a lot when I'm comparing cells in two different sheets. This could be a case where you've got sheets that are sent to you from two different sources, but they have the same layout. So I'll use this quite frequently for that type of comparison. In the next cell, I'm looking at how much my loan amount is going to be. So if my loan amount is greater than $25,000, I'm prompting the user, or myself in this case, are you sure? And if it's $25,000 or less, I'm congratulating myself on being budget-minded. So taking a look at the actual function in our formula bar, if B3, which is shown here as a shaded area or a shaded cell, is greater than $25,000, the true part is, are you sure? The false part is, how budget-minded of you. So let's go in and make a change to what's in the contents, either in price or our down payment. Let's say that the price goes up to $32,000. Now all of a sudden our loan amount is $27,000, and if we scroll down we'll see "Are you sure?" is now the response. I believe that does it for the if statement. I hope you enjoyed this month's video focus, Numbers Exploring Functions. In this video we looked at sum, average, min, max, and count functions, as well as the payment function for fixed monthly payments and the if function for comparing values or cells. Clickety Quick offers online and desk-side software training and support. We also provide on-site classroom training. Some of the applications we support include Microsoft Office, WordPerfect Office, iWork, Adobe Acrobat Pro, and many others. If you would like to book training or support, please email training@clickety-quick.com or call us at 705-720-2888 in the Simcoe region, or for our GTA clients, call 416-888-1922. Our video focus for next month will be on InfoPath for the PC. Thanks again for joining us.